right. Obviously, yesterday, was a big day for us, just kind of claiming guys. I think everybody knows we claimed 6 guys yesterday. First, just want to give a shout out to the scouting staff, the coaches. A lot of man hours, a lot of hard work goes into it, a lot of watching tape throughout the week. Just trying to identify players, with the traits, guys that fit our scheme, and just our culture in general. We're really excited about the guys we got. We feel like our team got better yesterday, just with obviously adding 3 corners that we really liked out there, an offensive lineman that we really liked, and then an outside linebacker that has all the tools to help us out as well. So I'll open it up for any questions.
Dan, how's that making that many changes speak to where you guys are kind of in this rebuilding process?
Yeah, I think we're looking to upgrade at every turn and, just kind of build our roster the right way. And, I think when you bring corners in with the size and the profile that we bought in yesterday, they're the type of guys we're looking for. It's a big man's league, so we want some big corners out there that are physical, can run, and do the type of things that we want to do from a schematic standpoint. So we feel like we got better there.
On the big corners, Dan, we saw that when you and Scott got here a while ago. And then kind of last year maybe got away from it a little bit. Why? What was there a change, and kind of what got you back to it?
Yeah, I don't think it's any specific thing. I think just when I got the job, just kind of like regathering and talking to Idro, talking to the staff, talking to Coach Canales. We talked about how we wanted to build this team and the type of profiles that we want by position. And, we all came down to, the size, the length, just guys with that athletic profile that we're looking for. We're really sticking to that. And, I think as we continue to build, I think you'll see more and more of that. Now, there's always the exception, right? But, profile-wise, we have our profiles, and we're going to stick to it, and we're going to be disciplined.
You guys promoted Jordan Matthews to the 53. I mean, a 32-year-old guy who's switching positions, has been on practice squads for years. When you went to New Orleans as a player, you had to go through it. As a former player, how cool is it to see a guy like that kind of push through and make this roster?
Well, I think, first of all, like the type of guy that Jordan Matthews is, the work ethic, just the type of person, the type of, husband, the type of dad, he fits that DNA that we're looking for. He comes in, the guy does so much rehab, so much work on his body, and to see, him at 32 years old, perform the way that he's performed, and, you see him every day, he's out there, he's staying healthy, and he just looks great out there. So really proud of him, and well-deserved with him coming up to the 53.
Dave just talked so much about cohesion and the coaching staff. This is now, I guess, maybe the last big moment of the offseason. I'm wondering if you could speak to your and Brandt's and Brandt as well afterwards, just your communication and how that process is going this summer.
Yeah, it's going great. Brandt and I didn't know each other, before this, but we got on a Zoom call together, and, you would have thought that we had known each other forever. So it's been like that since day one, just to where, like, our communication, we're more alike than what people would think. We like laughing, we like having a good time out there. We enjoy working with each other every single day. I think it's a great match, and I'm looking forward to what the future holds.
Brandt, how's it been for you?
Yeah, it's been great. Like Dan said, we're very aligned. We have very similar morals and just general ideals of what we want to be. And on top of that, we very much value collaboration and open-mindedness. So we can be both steadfast in what we believe in while also humble enough to listen to what everyone else has to say, which creates a pretty good working environment for everyone in the building.
To follow up on that, especially given that you are still getting to know one another, what do you find yourselves pulling from the other that you may not have brought had he not been in the room, or vice versa?
I think that's what makes us really good, right? I'm the quote-unquote football guy, and then you have Brandt, who's, he's got the brains and the cap, but, it's much more than that. We're learning from each other, and Brandt knows football, and I know the cap. But I think we help sharpen each other every single day. We challenge each other. I'm not afraid to challenge him. He's not afraid to challenge me. And I think that's what makes it good is we have that healthy relationship. And I think that when you're not afraid to, stand up against something that maybe you believe or maybe, check each other on something, it makes us better. And then ultimately it's going to make the organization better.
Brent, from your understanding of the league from a roster building standpoint, just away from evaluation and understanding what goes into the waiver wire and potential trades and all that stuff that you guys kind of communicate on, how was that process during this final cut down of kind of shaping this 53 from both an evaluation standpoint and then from a long-term, cap sensibility standpoint?
Yeah, I would say alignment is probably the biggest piece. So just understanding what do we need this year, and how are we going to accomplish that, as well as what's going to position us best for the long term. So being aligned with our coaching staff in everything that they need, and also being mindful of how are we going to field a competitive roster in the future.
And after you cut Terrace, did other teams call you to ask, hey, why did you cut him? What could we get? What would we be getting in him if we picked him up or signed him? And what was your response?
Yeah, I had a few teams, call me and ask me about Terrace, and obviously I think the world of Terrace. Not only a great person, but he had a great camp. He did everything that we asked out there. I think those type of cuts, they're always tough. They're always challenging. It was right there at the end, where we were kind of deciding if we were going to keep him or not. But special teams, it really comes into play, and Terrace hasn't really been a special teams kind of ace for us, and that played a big role in our decision to ultimately release him. But hey, I wish him nothing but the best. I think he's going to do great, and I wish him success where he's at.
Brant, are there, you mentioned setting up for both now and the long term, are there particular things that's happened this offseason, whether it's this week or previously, that kind of speak to that long-term view for 25, 26, 27?
Specifically, you saw the guys who we claimed. We claimed younger players with years left under contract. I think that's important. But ultimately, it's really just about getting the culture right? Getting those dogs in that Dan's talked about, and just making sure that we get players that fit our scheme and what we want.
Dan, Dave talked yesterday about Mike Boone having a lot of prowess in the return game. He's obviously on the practice squad right now. Jonathan Brooks is still designated to return on IR. What do you make of the running back at the moment right now?
Yeah, I like it a lot. Obviously, we have Chuba, who we think the world of. Unbelievable work ethic, and I think he's going to have a big year. His body looks great. His attitude is tremendous. And then obviously his backups, Miles Sanders. Miles has done a great job this camp. Another guy that's put a lot of work in. His mindset's unbelievable right now, so we're really excited about him as well. And then we have Raheem. Raheem's a really good returner. He can return punts. He can return kickoffs. He can kind of wear a lot of hats on the offensive side of the ball as well. So we have three guys that we're really excited about, and then Mike Boone on the practice squad as well. He's a guy with a lot of experience. He's really good on special teams, and a guy that if we need to call up, we wouldn't even blink an eye. We'd feel good about having him up there.
Dan, what's your expectation on when you're going to get Ian back, Brooks, and then the two edge rushers?
Yeah, I don't think expectation-wise, it's a day-by-day thing. We're just going to leave it at that. Let the trainers do their job, and we'll figure it out when the time comes.
Well, do you think Ian's in play for week 1?
Yeah, again, day by day. We'll see where it goes, and we'll make a decision at the end of the day.
Canales said that the edge rusher position opposite Clowney is, quote, up for grabs.
Yeah.
How does that work as you're heading into the start of the season? Is that an area of concern for you all?
Yeah, we're looking at that position still. We've been looking at it through the waiver wire. We added Sheriff from Seattle, who did a really good job. He had 3 sacks. He's got a great motor. We're excited about a lot of those guys on that, opposite JD. I think it's still an ongoing competition. I think somebody really needs to separate themselves over there. But I think we have a lot of guys that can, do it together and do it right at the end of the day.
There's obviously a first wave of the waiver wire that you guys took advantage of last year, but then there's that second wave of guys who are cut after the initial waiver wire. Do you guys see that as an opportunity potentially today to add or change things at the bottom?
Yeah, I think, every waiver wire, just not even just today, but like throughout the season, like we're going to be active. We're going to watch guys. If we feel like a guy can upgrade us, like we're not going to be shy to claim them. So yeah, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to continue on, churning the bottom of the roster, churning the roster in general, and trying to make it one of the best in the NFL.
Do you view the practice squad plus the main roster as like a 70-man roster? Some GMs kind of use that term. Or do you have a distinction between both?
Yeah, I think like practice squad, I think you have to have your developmental guys, but you also have to have guys that are ready to play that you can elevate, and if injuries happen or something like that. So I think on the practice squad we just gotta have a good philosophy, which I think we do, is having that combination, having that good blend, and just continue like building the depth, building the roster.
And obviously, a lot of what you've done all offseason has been to get Bryce in better position to succeed. What have you seen in him throughout camp that you feel good about and where he's progressed from last season?
Yeah, I just think, obviously, Bryce, like his work ethic, his demeanor, his confidence that he's playing with right now, it's fun to watch every single day. He's out there. I think he's feeling it. We're excited about him. We're excited about his future. I know his teammates, think the same out there, just talking to them out on the practice field. So he's progressing really well, and we're excited for his future.
And how big has Dave been a part of that?
Yeah, obviously Dave does a great job. He has a track record with quarterbacks, and I don't think Bryce will be any different. I think Dave, the energy, the passion, that he comes to the building with every single day. He really pours in all the players, not just Bryce. But to have him side by side with Bryce every single day, teaching him, coaching him, positive reinforcement, I think it speaks wonders, just the kind of person that Dave is and the type of coach that he is.
Brandt, on the topic of Bryce, while he's still on his rookie deal, is there an opportunity to do even more in free agency going forward in terms of surrounding him with playmakers and protection?
Sure. I mean,
His rookie deal offer you that flexibility, and is that something you guys have talked about taking advantage of in terms of offense?
in terms of offense, I mean, we're just trying to. I wouldn't say offense. No, I would say in terms of the roster, sure, yeah. I mean, we were active in free agency this year. We spent some money there, and I wouldn't say that Bryce's contract where he is right now is necessarily good, like an advantage for us. I think we're just going to take all of the pieces that we have and just try to fit as many good players on the roster as we can.
Brent, you kind of made a reputation of being able to look ahead and kind of see what's coming. At any given time, how many years down the road are you looking?
I don't know. It really depends on what you're talking about, right? So, like, I just bought a house, so, like, the mortgage, right? I mean, I'm looking 10, 20 years ahead. But in the NFL, just my experience is you can't look more than two to 3 years down the line without knowing, you may have a few core pieces here and there, but after that, there's so much turnover in the NFL.
Building off that, would you say it takes 2 to 3 years for a full rebuild?
I wouldn't put a timeline on any rebuild. I think every situation's different, so I wouldn't put any timeline on any one place.
What factors in Carolina might stop a rebuild? Might be an obstacle to one.
I mean, it's a lot. Like you can just look through the history of the NFL. Teams ascend and descend for various reasons, and it's impossible to know what all the risk factors are. So that's one of the things that Dan and I talk about, is just what are the things that we know and what are the things that we don't know.
Ideally, then, where could you be in 2 years?
I don't know. I wouldn't put anything on that right now.
Dan, when terms like rebuild are being tossed about, and you and Dave have been very seemingly careful not to put any expectations on this team, does that present a problem at all with some of the older guys, and how do you kind of address that when they're like, well, wait a second, what about this rebuild deal?
I think it's like a retooling and not a rebuilding, right? So, I think every day there's challenges with the roster, whether injuries or, there's all different circumstances. I think at the end of the day, we have a really good core of guys that we're excited about. We're excited about the season. We don't want to put any expectations on the season, but that's not to say that we're not confident in the season. So we're going to work our butts off, and that's all we know how to do. We're going to work hard. We're going to put the hours in. The players are going to do the same. They understand that. They're excited for the season as well, just talking to everybody out on the field. So, yeah, we just got to put the work in, and we got to go do it.
Why not put expectations out there?
Yeah, because expectations, they're expectations. We're dealing with the reality of things, and the reality of things is we control every single day. We can either get better or we can get worse. So for us, we choose to get better. We choose to take it day by day, and whether that's us in the front office building this roster, or the players, whether it's taking care of their body. Just working on themselves from a mental standpoint, physical standpoint. We're just looking to get better all around as an organization.
By your definition, what's the difference between a rebrand and a retool?
A rebrand
Yeah,
and
you
a
said it's not a
retool?
rebrand, you said it's more of a retool. So what's the difference?
More retooling than rebuilding. So, I just think it's, turning the roster over, not being afraid to turn the roster over, challenge the roster at every single turn. And I think you guys have seen that. And I think that's the only way that you get better, is that you gotta constantly evolve. You gotta change things over. You gotta challenge your roster, and you gotta challenge everything you do. Even us upstairs, we gotta challenge our processes. We just gotta challenge everything that we do. So, we're retooling. We're not rebuilding. So we're just looking to get better every single day.
Why is rebuild a dirty word? It seems like a dirty word.
Yeah, I mean, I think people, I think people, I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think that's kind of how a lot of people perceive it. Maybe is rebuilding's a bad thing, but I don't really see it that way. I think we are retooling. I think we're, just, roster-wise, we're trying to get better and just retool the roster with, what we want in terms of players and processes.
From a numbers standpoint, 47 of the guys that were here during the summer made this roster. You have 24 new faces. Was there a guy on the team, or maybe two, that kind of exceeded your initial, not expectations, but evaluations of coming into camp? You had one undrafted free agent on the roster right now. 3 made the initial 53. Were there guys who you looked at and they competed and played above the level you had expected?
No, I wouldn't say that, because I think every player that we sign, we have high expectations for. And, so I'm not really going to single anybody out that's surprised us, because, if we didn't think a lot of somebody, we wouldn't bring them in here to begin with. So, I just think, I've been really proud of the way the guys have attacked this offseason, attacked training camp, and, I know they're prepared from a mental and physical condition going into this season.
Is challenging the roster turnover, is that part of the mindset behind the turnover in the cornersback room the past week?
Yeah, I think, I think that's, again, yeah, the turnover in the corner room, we felt like, we needed to upgrade there. So retooling that room, bringing a different body style in that room, players that we, that fit more from a prototype standpoint of what we want. So to answer your question, yeah.
Was that the most aggressive day you guys have ever been a part of in terms of claims?
I think for me, like when I was in Seattle, when we were first starting to kind of retool that roster out there, we were really aggressive on a day-to-day basis. I don't remember how many players that we claimed or anything at the cut down, but we were aggressive out there, and I've been part of a rebuild, or a retool, don't want to say the rebuild. So, yeah, I've been part of kind of that process, and, I think this feels like a little similar to that.
Will the next 3 weeks be much the same?
I think as long as we're here, we're always going to be challenging the roster. So,
but specific to your spot here in the pecking order.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think obviously we're at an advantage, but we're at an advantage that we don't want to be in for years to come. Let's put it that way. So, we're looking for that to change. Again, we're not going to put expectations on it, but we're looking to put the work in, and we're going to be aggressive.
You guys
obviously have a lot of experiences and relationships within the league, and you guys come from two separate trees, so to speak. For your guys' first times in this role each, how did it help you kind of check the landscape of the league, knowing potentially what could be on the waiver wire, as well as what trade, Mike Jackson trade, et cetera, maneuvering around this roster building process when you guys look at it from the entire scope?
Yeah, I think to your point, Brandt and I have been around the league a while. We do have a lot of connections, and I think we're pretty good at, using those and communicating and saying, hey, what have you heard? What have you heard? And then kind of putting our brains together and, coming up with a strategy on maybe how to attack something that we hear. So, I think our experience definitely helps us out in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks.